Welcome to CGTN live stream. This is a special edition of Taking the Pulse of China's economy. And today we're zooming on multinational companies in China. What are you hearing from your fellow European businessmen? What kind of support do you think that they need the most at this moment to recover from the COVID disruptions?
So I'm really happy to hear the optimism in the room today, because we still need to see the result of Q2 2022, which was especially for companies based in Shanghai for over 2 months and a half of a full lockdown. We'll see which effect will have on China performance, but as well in global performance. As a chamber, we publish our business confidence survey early this last month in June, and we have seen that our members, they see China as an important market, 1.4 billion people. There is not a second China. So they are here because it's one of the most important economy of the world. Indeed, the problem that we are seeing now, that beside that usual suspects, such as equal treatment, market access barrier, now we are facing the problem of predictability of the Chinese market, because we are not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. Look regarding what's happened in Shanghai. We were expecting for 4 days of lockdown. Instead, our production companies, they were closed for many days. It's important in order to create new confidence in the market. And indeed, this is something that we are looking forward in the months to come.
Yeah, to restore confidence is really the most important thing at the moment. I agree with you. What are you hearing from European businesses here in China? In what ways are they making adjustments exactly? I mean, adopting maybe a more flexible business model, or proactive measures being introduced?
Indeed, the smart working is the one we have seen that is happening more and more often in the world post-pandemic. We have seen the instrument like we are having now, this roundtable, virtual roundtable with people all around the world. And this is definitely an first effect of the COVID pandemic. I want to mention that in our business confidence survey, the COVID-19 is one of still of the top 3 reasons why it's challenging doing business in China. And also our people, they felt that in the past year, doing business in China become more and more political, and it become more complicated on doing business in here. What we would like to see now is that China will boost again the path of reform, that it goes a bit stalled during the period of the pandemic. And indeed, we would like to see an easy up of the travel restriction. We have seen a good step. Have been done reduction from 14 days to 7 days on isolation when somebody come back from abroad. But it's important also to increase the number of flights, international flights, because we have to bring back our talents. This is definitely a big challenge that European companies are facing in the market. Many students, they are not the ambassadors of China to come from Europe in China. They are not coming because of the pandemic. So we hope that to see a phase 2 of opening up post-pandemic restriction, because this will boost up also more investment. Because while China is deciding what to do for the COVID-0 policy, the headquarters back in Europe, they are keeping their further investment. And they are deciding if this investment shall arrive to China or shall arrive in other areas around China. And this is something that as a chamber we see as a trend, because, for example, 23% of our members in the survey, double comparing last time, it was 11%, they may decide to exit from China to invest in other markets. So this is something we should have a look at.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. D'Andrea, so the key findings from your latest China Business Confidence Survey is high risks and high rewards. I think you touched upon that just now. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, please? Because I know that that survey was based on the findings or the feedbacks that you got from your respondents last year. What about this year? If you've done a survey now, how do you think that result will be different?
Indeed, would be different because we did all the survey. The time was February when you had a strong start of the year, and the business confidence survey is the publication that we do every year in order to check the temperature on the market. Now, following the business confidence survey, we did other internal review and flash survey in order to understand which one is the state of art for our members. What is at the moment the main challenge is attract talent, restart the business, because it seems that in Shanghai, not all the company start fully. Remember that in April, over 330 million Chinese and citizens, they were in a status of lockdown, which it seems like all the population of the 27 state member in Europe. China is indeed the second economy of the world, is keeping a push in order to become the first economy of the world, but we need more predictability, because it's what the European headquarters at the moment wants. Because if we have to put money in this market, we need to understand if we can operate or not. We need to have more transparency in the new regulation in order to understand better what's going to happen tomorrow. And another point is that I want to emphasize is the support to the small, medium enterprises, because the multinational company that are here represented by Honeywell, they have the body size and the pocket in order to overcome the difficulties. But the small, medium enterprise at the moment are the ones that suffered the most of the pandemic and the related lockdown, especially because sometimes the general manager is not only the general manager, but it's also the HR, the finance, and so on. And if you have a problem in making him come back to China, this company may also decide to close. So in a policy of support, we have to focus the authorities in help this small, medium enterprise to grow, to foster, because the R&D, what as the colleagues of Honeywell will say, is really important. In our business confidence survey, over 40% of our members believes that China is more innovative compared to the other peer global standards. But indeed, the challenges on the IPR protection are still there. The legal framework, they are getting improved, but the enforcement of the protection on IPR still need to be reassured at international level. So these more or less are the state of art.
Now, these issues that you just talked about, how for small and medium-sized, especially micro businesses, to recover from the pandemic disruptions and the IPR issues and other issues, despite if we look past the past 3 months from the pandemic disruptions, how would you comment on the evolution and the change, improvement in China's business environment over the years? What are you hearing from your fellow European businesses?
I see that they are feeling uncertainty. They don't know how it's going to be Q3. We will have a new wave of COVID-19, and therefore we have a new wave of lockdown. There are a lot of uncertainty regarding the international school, because many of teachers, they went abroad and we don't know if they come back. There are some rumors that some important international school in Beijing and Shanghai may even not reopen because the exodus of expats happening in this summer. And after 3 years, if you see the COVID-0 policy, it worked. And you have seen that China over the past years was one of the only countries still open, while Europe and US were closed. But now we see other way around. You see China locked, and you can see Europe and US fully reopened, taking away all the limitation related the distance, the mask. And this is an attraction for expats to move in other markets. For example, there are many of our members, they think to relocate their regional headquarters in Singapore or in other area around China. And this is something that the authorities should look into it, because it's complicated after let's expat come back when the confidence and the uncertainty is still there, and the confidence instead is not going back. And this personally, I believe that is something we should look into it, because in order to attract, again, new investment, we need to have more transparency and more support for the international and European company in China.
So you need more policy support, especially for smaller businesses from Europe to restore business confidence in China. Other interesting findings from your business confidence survey is one that says that China has been viewed as a thriving research and development hub by many European businesses. What are the attractions?
Well, first of all, as we mentioned before, the size of the market, because it's interesting that the 1.4 billion potential consumer. Another point of view is the importance that the innovation, the ecosystem that China are building up on the R&D and the subsidies they are providing. As I mentioned in our business confidence survey, over 40% that our respondents said that China ecosystem is quite innovative, if not even more to other related markets. What remain are the challenges for the small medium enterprise, because in order to have a clear protection of your innovation, a clear protection on your new patent, you need important funds. Sometimes the small medium enterprise are a bit resilient in order to bring to China the latest technology, because they are afraid of possible copycat and similar. Indeed, the research and development in China is something important, because our members are in China for the Chinese market. What I want to highlight is, in order to have innovation, you need also interchange of ideas. And it's okay to have a Zoom call or team calls, but it's also important to have international travel. It's important that to have a melting pot of engineers coming from different parts of the world here in China in order to foster innovation. And in fact, we are not surprised that Shenzhen is one of the most innovative cities of China, because it's one of the cities which collect many citizens coming from different parts of China and of the world. So it's important, in order to foster innovation, to have a solid and valid legal system to protect the IPR and the enforcement of IPR. You need an innovation center in order to allow interchange among headquarters and China R&D based location. And we need universities. China got universities, important universities, but at the moment students cannot travel abroad. So we need open-minded students that they seen as things are done in US, as things are done in Italy or in Germany, and vice versa. We need engineers from Europe that just graduate from top university in Europe to come here in China to see as China-made things are done. So it's important also to think about that, because the restriction that we have at the moment with the COVID-19 zero policy may affect also the future to come innovation of the Chinese company and the European company doing business in China.
Is the China market still attractive for European businesses? Why, and how can we keep this attractiveness?
China is indeed attractive for European companies. The uncertainty erode a bit the confidence of headquarters in the market. And you can see that also in geopolitical position, the fact that China didn't take a clear stand against the Russia-Ukraine war, this also affects a bit the pressure on the headquarters back in Europe. China needs to continue the path of reform, should have a clear roadmap, should speed it up the opening up of the market restricted sector, and indeed should have a better policy related the travel restriction that shall wind up and shall increase the number of international flights. In this way, European company will continue to invest in this market. But as I mentioned, our companies at the moment are in China for the Chinese market.
Great. So thank you so much for your time today. And with that, I'm wrapping up this special edition. And please stay tuned for more to come here on CGTN. I'm Lily Lu. Bye for now.